The hallway of the towering military headquarters echoed with a cold, sharp precision, every footstep reflecting the weight of discipline and authority. Major General Elena Vargos, known for her iron will and unyielding standards, walked briskly down the corridor, her polished boots clicking against the marble floor. To her, nothing was more important than order, respect, and appearances. Yet, in the midst of this structured world, there existed a small, unassuming figure she barely noticed, a janitor pushing a cart of cleaning supplies, quietly humming to himself as he mopped the floor. His name was Daniel Hayes, a single father who had fought his own battles in a world far harsher than polished hallways and military drills, yet the world rarely gave him recognition. Daniel had once been a skilled mechanic, a man who could fix anything with his hands, from engines to broken furniture. But life had a cruel way of breaking him, piece by piece, leaving him alone to care for his 8-year-old daughter, Sophie. After losing his wife in a tragic accident, he had thrown himself into work, taking the janitor position not out of pride, but necessity. Every day, he arrived before dawn, scrubbed the floors, emptied the trash, and silently endured the scorn of those who looked down on him, never uttering a complaint. The military world didn't care about personal tragedies, it only respected rank, power, and discipline. On that particular day, General Vargos's sharp eyes caught sight of Daniel pushing a mop into the hallway just as she was passing. Without hesitation, she stopped, towering over him with the aura of someone used to being obeyed. Her voice, crisp and cutting, shattered the calm of his morning routine. "Do you even belong here, Hayes? This is a place of discipline and excellence, not a playground for janitors who can't seem to manage their own lives." The words stung, not because Daniel had no pride, but because they were delivered with a public, humiliating precision. Daniel paused, his hands tightening around the mop handle. Sophie's face flashed in his mind. Her smile, her laughter, the reason he got up every morning despite exhaustion. But even that thought didn't ease the shame of being scolded, belittled, simply for doing his job. At that moment, dear viewers, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroism of everyday people, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Daniel kept his head down, nodding politely, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He had learned long ago that arguing with someone like General Vargos was pointless. Her eyes were cold, and her words, though harsh, were like the sharp edge of a blade, meant to cut and leave a mark. As she walked away, satisfied that she had asserted her dominance, Daniel exhaled, releasing the tension he had held in his shoulders all morning. Yet, he didn't let the encounter define him. He moved on with his work, sweeping, mopping, and sanitizing, all while listening to the distant echoes of orders being barked, drills being conducted, and soldiers rushing about. Life for Daniel was a balancing act. Every day he worked tirelessly to provide for Sophie, ensuring she had food, school supplies, and a sense of stability that he himself had barely known. Their apartment was small, the walls thin, but it was filled with laughter, warmth, and the unspoken bond between a father and his child. Daniel often found himself thinking about the unfairness of life, the way it could strip someone of everything and leave them struggling to survive, unnoticed by the world. And yet, he never allowed himself to give in to bitterness. Every morning he rose early, dressed in his janitor uniform, and faced the world with quiet determination. On this particular afternoon, an unexpected emergency had brought General Vargos into the maintenance wing. A high-ranking delegation was visiting, and a sudden spill had made one of the main corridors dangerously slippery. Daniel, already aware of the situation, had rushed to contain it, mopping up the spill before anyone could slip. But just as he was finishing, General Vargos appeared again, her expression more piercing than ever. She glared at him, arms crossed, and sneered, "You think you're useful? You can't even do a simple task without making it look pathetic." The humiliation burned hotter than before, and Daniel felt an almost physical ache in his chest. He wanted to respond, to defend himself, to explain that he wasn't incompetent, that he had faced far greater challenges than a wet floor. But the words stuck in his throat. As she turned to leave, Daniel felt a strange twinge of determination. He wasn't going to allow her scorn to diminish him. There was more to him than the janitor's uniform, more than the quiet submission to authority. He knew his worth, even if the world didn't. And perhaps, unbeknownst to him, the world was about to discover it in the most unexpected way. It happened during a routine maintenance check in the storage wing. Daniel was reorganizing shelves when he noticed a group of soldiers struggling to lift a heavy crate. Without hesitation, he stepped in, offering his strength and skill. What the soldiers didn't know, and what General Vargos would soon discover, was that Daniel's hands were not merely those of a janitor. They were skilled, calloused from years of mechanical work, hands capable of precision, strength, and ingenuity. The crate was moved efficiently, without a word of complaint, leaving the soldiers impressed. One of them commented quietly, "He's more capable than most of us give him credit for." Days passed, and General Vargos's encounters with Daniel remained tense, yet something subtle began to shift. There were whispers among the staff about the mysterious tattoo he kept hidden under his sleeve. A tattoo no one had ever seen except for Daniel himself. It wasn't just ink on skin. It was a symbol of a life he had led before tragedy, a story of bravery and sacrifice that the military world would never have guessed existed. And that story was about to emerge in the most dramatic way imaginable. One evening, the headquarters held a formal event honoring veterans and heroes. Daniel had been tasked with cleaning the main hall after the event, a job he performed with his usual quiet diligence. As he lifted a heavy chair, his sleeve rolled up, exposing the intricate tattoo on his forearm. It was a mark of honor, etched into his skin, a symbol of service, courage, and resilience. A hush fell over the room when General Vargos saw it. Her sharp eyes widened in recognition. The tattoo was not ordinary. It belonged to a covert division, a unit renowned for its bravery and elite missions. Daniel had served, not in some ceremonial role, but on the front lines, where courage was measured in life and death. The realization hit her like a thunderclap. This janitor, this man she had insulted and dismissed, had risked his life for the country, demonstrating bravery and skill far beyond her assumptions. For the first time, she saw him not as a lowly janitor, but as a man of profound strength and integrity. The arrogance in her gaze faltered, replaced by respect, shock, and an unspoken apology that words could not convey. Daniel, sensing the shift, remained humble. He didn't seek recognition. He had never needed it. But the acknowledgement from someone like General Vargos, someone who had judged him so harshly, was a quiet vindication. It proved that character, courage, and kindness could not be measured by appearances, uniforms, or titles. In the weeks that followed, General Vargos began to change her demeanor toward Daniel. Her interactions softened, becoming less less condescending. She observed him from a distance, noticing how he treated everyone with respect, how he never complained, how he carried the weight of his responsibilities with quiet dignity. Slowly, her admiration grew, mingled with an unexpected humility. She began to understand that true heroism often existed in places the world overlooked, behind mop handles, in quiet hallways, in the sacrifices of those who bore burdens silently. And Daniel's life, too, began to shift. He was offered responsibilities beyond cleaning, small tasks that allowed him to showcase his skills, from repairing equipment to organizing important logistical operations. The soldiers, initially skeptical, began to see him as a mentor, a source of knowledge and guidance. Even Sophie noticed a change, her eyes lighting up with pride when she heard stories of her father's quiet heroism being recognized. Yet, the most profound moment came when General Vargos personally approached him in the main hall, her eyes meeting his with a sincerity he had never expected. There were no words of apology, no speeches of acknowledgement. Instead, there was a gesture, a subtle nod of respect, and a quiet acknowledgement of his worth. It was a moment that transcended pride, ego, or status. A recognition of humanity, of courage, of the resilience of a man who had endured life's harshest trials and emerged with dignity intact. As Daniel continued his work, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here, the pain, the struggles, the nights spent worrying for Sophie, the daily grind of a job others overlooked. And he realized something profound. The world may judge you by appearances, by status, by roles that seem insignificant, but true value is revealed in actions, in courage, in the quiet kindness that touches lives in ways the world rarely sees. Near the end, dear viewers, if this story has touched your heart, please engage with the video. Like, comment, and share it to honor the unsung heroes among us. And if you feel moved, leave a comment below sharing a moment when someone underestimated you, or a moment when kindness or second chances changed your life. Your story matters. By the time the week ended, Daniel's place in the headquarters had transformed. He was no longer merely a janitor. He had become a symbol of resilience, humility, and unspoken courage. And General Vargos, once cold and unyielding, had learned a lesson that would linger far beyond the polished floors of the military corridors. That judgment without understanding is a disservice to the world, and that true heroism often resides in the most unassuming souls. In the quiet moments, as Daniel tucked Sophie into bed, watching her drift to sleep with a contented smile, he knew that recognition was not the measure of a life well lived. It was the love he gave, the courage he showed, and the integrity he carried in every act, no matter how small. The hidden tattoo, once a secret, had revealed not only a past of bravery but the truth that sometimes the world needs a reminder. Greatness often walks unnoticed, disguised in humility, and touched by the purest forms of kindness. And in that realization, both Daniel and the viewers are left with a simple, enduring truth. Never underestimate the quiet strength of those who live their lives with courage, love, and unwavering dedication. Sometimes it takes a hid and mark, a single act, or even a glance from someone who misjudged you to reveal what has always been there. An unyielding heart, a hero in plain sight.